Recovery quotes. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. Vulnerability, the willingness to show up and be seen with no guarantee of outcome, is the only path to more love, belonging, and joy. The downside? You're going to stumble, fall, and get your ass kicked. Worth it? Yes. Happiness can be as simple as a cup of coffee and the right attitude. A right attitude is one of the only things that can change. Science says that the only difference between animals and humans is our ability to think about thinking, to choose our attitude, and that makes us and our lot in life as emotional beings different from everything else on this planet. How we respond is a choice. Be brave enough to live creatively. You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. You can only get there by hard work, by risking, and by not quite knowing what you are doing. What you will discover will be wonderful. Yourself. Mosaics are made from broken pieces, but if they're still a work of art, surely you are as well. I had to make you uncomfortable, otherwise you would never have moved. Signed, the universe. It's never too late to change the past. Another word for that is forgiveness. It is never too late to change the past. Another word for that is forgiveness. Forgiveness meaning forgiving back what you don't want to keep. Does not mean that you have to forget, but give back. Take it off your shoulders and out of your heart and give it back, so that the suffering that you give back that you once had can then help people grow as it helped you grow. Serenity is what we get when we quit hoping for a better past. The man in the glass. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back at you from the glass. He's the fellow to please. Never mind all the rest, for he's with you, clear to the end, and you're past your most difficult, dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on your back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. A poem by Peter Dale Wimbrough. It takes zero talent to be on time. Make an effort. Balance your energy. Have a positive attitude. Be passionate. Use good body language. Be teachable. Do a little extra whenever you can. Be prepared and have a strong work ethic. When I stop struggling, I float and I flow. When you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their own internal struggle than it ever did with you, you learn grace. you learn forgiveness, and you give yourself freedom. Minimalism is believing there is such a thing as enough. Transformed people transform people. I think recovery from anything is honestly the most badass thing a person can ever do. Addiction is not about alcohol or drugs. It's the absence of self. This absence is described as a hole in your soul. You can't love others when you're empty inside. Recovery peels back the painful layers and heals the hole through connection, honesty, and hard work. Recovery is letting go of your ego. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifetime of recovery. It never ends. At the root of all addiction is pain. I stay sober because I'm not sure if I have another recovery left in me. The greatest gift to give to people you love is your recovery. I've found that recovery means being honest about what I want, what I need, what I feel, and who I am. You cannot heal in the same environment which made you sick. Your life is a process of self-realization. Your consciousness is rising to a new level. I am always saying that love is a verb. It is probably the verb. It is far much more than a noun. It is more than a feeling, which people tend to think that love is. You know, it's caring, sharing, helping, and sacrificing, sure. But it is verb, it is doing. And when I speak to certain clients who have been addicted, who have fallen prey to huge egos, grandiosity, total and utter narcissistic self-absorption to levels that you cannot imagine, I ask them, do you love your mom, your dad, whoever it might be, who they comment on? And often, of course, they'll bark back that they do. And then I say, how? People tend to battle when looking for examples of how they do it. Carl Jung referred to our tendency to project as a part of ourselves that we would call the dark twin. And this dark twin would obviously see lacks in other people, then act on those lacks in a kind of pathological way. And the Course in Miracles often says that any judgments we make of others are initiated from what we see and recognize in ourselves as projected onto the other person. So letting go of projection is definitely one of the major principles that we need to work on in any kind of recovery and healing. Projection is when you see the world as malevolent and violent. You can see the world as beautiful and loving and giving, and those two are worlds apart. And in a very, very short space of time, you can see someone experiencing the malevolence and violence of an image of the world that they see. Just with a bit of silence and space and healing treatment, they will change the way they look at the world utterly. And of course, in doing so, they change the way they look at themselves. And that is really how healing is done. You know, it's looking at the shadow, acknowledging it, and then looking at the other side as well. The world is good. Genesis 1, as I always say, has got the answer. You don't need to read the rest if you don't want to. But God created it and it was good, and it was very good. And Genesis in the first chapters, I think, says it 5 or 6 times. So it is a beautiful world out there. And yes, there is bad news. Yes, there is suffering and so on. But when we come to understand the shadow and how we suffer to get to a more loving and belonging place, see that even suffering is for our good. Heard a story today of how a person went into a market and saw a wise teacher in that market. Teacher commented to the other teacher, "Why are you here in the market? You have learned so much through great suffering of losing your family and losing everything you have and your business and all your money, and it's good to see you looking so well. Why are you here hidden away, not going out there and teaching people like me?" And the other teacher said, "I sell fruit, and with each piece of fruit that I sell and give away, I bless everyone with great suffering so that they too can experience the conscious awakening and the beautiful realizations that I have had." So waking up to what is another way of saying the truth shall set me free. Unfortunately, a projection of happiness. I find you either chasing happiness or you chasing purpose. Very seldom are you chasing both. If we do chase happiness, purpose is often lacking. And happiness is obviously something we try and chase as children and try and chase as young adults, trying to be happy buying cars and boats and houses and so on. But when we chase purpose, the happiness simply flows along and it's added. As God said, "Follow me first, and all other things, including happiness, will be added to you." Recovery will hurt. It will take time. It will require dedication, willpower, and sacrifice. You will need to push your body to the max. There will be temptation, but it'll be worth it in the end. Remember, no one can disappoint you but you. What is stopping you from ending your suffering could also be the key to a transformed life. Don't let yourself be controlled by people, money, past experiences, or anything else. Feel the feelings. Don't hide. Don't deny or run, fix or blame, numb or fight. Let your feelings bubble to the surface and dissipate. If you are lucky enough to find a way of life you love, you have the courage to live it, you are indeed blessed. Sobriety is never owned, it is always rented, and rent is due every day. The enemy is fear. We think it is hate, but it is really fear. Listen to your emotions. Bitterness shows you where you need to heal, where you're holding judgments. Resentment shows you how you're living in the past and redoing your anger. Discomfort shows you that you need to pay attention right now. Anger shows you that you're passionate about where your boundaries are. Disappointment shows you that you tried for something, that you still care. We can either sit there lamenting about how bad we've been, how guilty we feel, and not a slice or a piece of that guilt will do anything, not a single thing, to change your past. From today on, I forgive myself and I move on. One day, I just noticed that everything I was imagining was ridiculous. On that day, I learned to let go. Your addiction will impact everybody that loves you. Make sure that your recovery does too. Make peace with your past so that it does not affect your present moment. What others think of you is none of your business. Time heals almost everything. Give everything time. Don't compare your life to others and don't judge them. You have no idea what their journey is all about. It's all right not to know all the answers. They will come to you when you least expect them to. You're in charge of your own happiness. Smile. You don't own all the problems in the world. Life is a free gift. Accept it. When you dare to be vulnerable with me, it's like you're saying, I feel safe enough to feel unsafe with you. The human body is 80% water, so we are basically just giant cucumbers with anxiety. Fall in love with taking care of yourself. Fall in love with the path of deep healing. Fall in love with becoming the best version of yourself, but with patience, compassion, and respect. Love your journey. Why do we close our eyes when we pray, when we cry, when we kiss, when we dream? Because the most beautiful things in life are not seen, but only felt with the heart. This is the spiritual experience. I sat with my anger long enough until she told me her real name was grief. Anger is always about losing something. It is about grieving the loss, and it is about looking forward to the new. It may look as if the situation is creating the suffering, but ultimately this is not so. Your resistance is creating it. Detachment isn't selfish. It's caring for yourself and letting others care for themselves. People think that intimacy is about sex, but intimacy is about truth. When you realize you can tell someone the truth, you can show yourself to them. When you stand in front of them and their response is, "You're safe with me," that is intimacy. The world changes as you change, and when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Sobriety was not about drugs and alcohol. I had to detox mostly from fear, anger, hate, and resentment. Happy people build their inner world. Unhappy people blame their outer world. The secret of happiness is flowing and not forcing. This is really power versus force. Power means action. Power means the ability to act and do. Force never does anyone any good. I'm a lover of what is, not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality. Self-realization. Your life is a process of self-realization. Your consciousness is rising to a new level. You are maturing away from rationalization, fear, resistance, escape, commitment, phobia, ego death, paranoia, profaning of the sacred. Your movement is towards creativity, joy, contentment, transcendence, insight, harmony, beauty, compassion, bliss, and your higher power. Overwhelming tiredness and exhaustion is a sign of grief. It is a sign that you need to let go. The task of grief is to accept the reality of a loss, and we've all experienced many losses. Experience the pain of it, adjust to the new, and reinvent and invest in your new reality and your new truth. Pray about everything. Recovery cannot be a hobby. It must be a lifestyle. To create a day worth living, get up early. Express gratitude for all the things that you have. Do something productive, something fun, something for someone else. Get some sunlight and exercise. Put a smile on someone else's face. Express gratitude and compliment someone. Remember, love is a verb. Most important of all, learn something new. The first 3 steps taught me how to give up. 4, 5, and 6 taught me how to own up. 7, 8, and 9 taught me how to make up. 10, 11, and 12 taught me how to grow up. Mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it was different. Enjoying the pleasant without holding on when it changes, which of course it will. Being with the unpleasant without fearing it will always be this way, which it won't. For what it's worth, it's never too late. Or in my case, too early to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Stop whenever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best of the world or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it, and I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things that you've never felt before. I hope you meet people with a different point of view. I hope you live a life to be proud of. If you find you are not, I hope you have the courage to start all over again. F. Scott Fitzgerald on recovery. Look within. Find your love and light and let that shine through. Stop watering dead plants. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge. When I focus on what's good today, I have a good day. When I focus on what's bad, I have a bad day. If I focus on the problem increases. If I focus on the answers, the answer increases. Stop playing the victim. Stop making excuses. Stop letting society tell you how to live, and stop trying to make other people happy. Stop doubting yourself. Start enjoying alone time, turning off your gadgets and phones. Start enjoying positive thinking and being in the present moment. Start believing in yourself, and start making your own happiness as you express your own creativity. Start acknowledging your desires, your dreams and wishes. Start making everything you want happen. Start making your own happiness. Help others realize that they can do exactly the same. Respond and don't react. Because when you react to something, you may have a problem with boundaries. If someone is able to cause havoc by doing or saying something to you, they are in control of you at that point. When you respond, you can remain in control with options and choices. If you feel yourself reacting, step away and regain control of yourself. When you have kept your boundaries, choose the best option. The difference between responding and reacting is a choice. When you are reacting, they are in control. When you respond, you're in control. A beautiful life begins with a beautiful mind. Choose your thoughts and heal your life. The best version of yourself comes after the worst journey you could take. Helping is doing something for someone that they are not capable of doing themselves. Enabling is doing for someone things that they could do for themselves. When you say or do anything to keep influence, to gain control, fear is the cause of what you are doing. There's very little we know in this universe, but it is going to be okay, and it is going to be worth it. Use the 21-90 rule. It takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle. Thomas Merton, one of my favorite teachers of all time, says concentrate not on the results, but on the value, the rightness, the truth of the work itself. It's never about the results. It is never about the final destination, which never really comes, arguably, until you're dead. It's very little doesn't have an end. But when we concentrate on the results, we start to control, we start to look for the wrong answers. The real value of life is in the work itself. It's in the progress. It is in waking up from being more asleep than you were the day before. Consciousness is the work of psychology. It's the work of spirituality, religion, and learning, growth, and then, of course, contribution, which means giving away what you have been given, is probably the destination that we are looking for while being alive. Malcolm Forbes said education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an open one. And letting go of what we have learned that doesn't work is incredibly difficult. They say in addiction treatment that people have a 5 to 20% recovery rate, and that is after 1 year of abstinence and treatment. So change is difficult. Life is difficult. The more we wake up, the more conscious we are of the right things, means that the closer we're going to be to growth and contribution.